In many countries, psychic mediums are brought in to help police investigate crime, murder, and mystery. But their work is often kept hidden. Now, 3 of Britain's most respected mediums have joined forces to reveal how their incredible gifts can be used to provide evidence where often the only witnesses are the dead. Colin Fry, Tony Stockwell, and T.J. Higgs will take on closed cases, baffling murders, and unsolved crimes. They'll help families find answers, unravel mysteries, and illuminate the unexplained. Together, they are the Psychic Private Eyes. In this episode, the Psychic Private Eyes investigate a Victorian double mystery spanning over 4 generations in a case that is clouded by deception, incest and abuse, incarceration, and death by poison.
They've got a hold over her.
They're trying to keep her quiet.
Vanessa Goldie-Scot's grandmother spent over 13 years of her life in lunatic asylums throughout Britain. Vanessa is trying to find out answers to a mystery that has eluded her family since Victorian times.
Well, I suppose it all started just 3 weeks before my father died. He often used to say, you know, Vanessa, I never knew a mother's love. And I'd say, but Daddy, that can't be true. And he said, well, I've got no memory of her. His father was so upset that his way of dealing with it was to obliterate any memory of her.
So, what mysterious circumstances surround the life of Vanessa's grandmother, Evelyn Silly? Vanessa comes to London for a one-to-one reading with Colin Fry, whilst Tony Stockwell will link to the spirit world via a photo. As in all our cases, neither Colin nor Tony has been given any prior information regarding the nature of the case.
I get the sense that this is a case of family that were separated.
Yeah.
We've got to go back in time a while because it happens so rarely in this day and age. I get the sense that I also need to talk about a woman that died in childbirth.
Absolutely spot on.
It's rather confusing, really, because there's so much between me and the images I'm seeing, and me and these photographs. It stretches back, and there's so much confusion between this case and that which is reality, and that which is spoke of, and that which is rumoured, and it's just like a big mess between me and reality and me and truth.
There must have been a connection here somewhere with someone that was diagnosed with polio at some time.
Yes, that there was somebody who had polio.
There are 4 people that are involved in this overall situation, if we take you out of the equation. Would that make sense to you? Right. Like the 4 winds. 4 people have been scattered like the 4 winds, all been sent off in different directions. In some way, the life and the memory of these 4 people has got to be drawn back together. Would you understand that?
Yeah.
I feel as though there's something wrong with my stomach, or something across my stomach that feels odd to me. I'm looking at this adult lady, and I feel as though when I put my hands down on the photographs that there's blood on my hands, and there's like blood across my hands. And I want to look first of all at her personality, and I feel there's 2 extremes of her personality. I have a feeling of having a baby and not being married.
And I know that the lady died in childbirth. And had she not died in childbirth, well, quite frankly, we wouldn't be sitting here today, because there wouldn't be a mystery, there wouldn't be an upset, there wouldn't have been all these years of pain. I know that I have to mention also about the importance of like a Bernardo's children's home. Would you be able to understand that?
Yeah.
The clearest thing I can get, I suppose, is to be accused of something that I'm not quite sure she committed at all. To be accused of things, or to make accusations. That's really in my head. And I see it involves blood, and blood on my hands, and the feeling of missing people that are missing. I feel that there's a man that comes into my mind that is also involved in this mystery in some way.
Some records got destroyed in a fire.
Mm-hmm.
That means that part of the equation, you've had to rely on on people's living memories.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's quite strange. I'm either being shown 8 children or a family of 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then there seems to be this shadowy figure, this 9th figure, an illegitimate child.
I wonder whether there was a court case involved at some point. I just get the feeling as though I'm being taken through dark wooden doors, and it just indicates the fact that there's like a process of law, a sense of court and judgments. I'm aware of this lady, and I feel as though that there was a court case, and I also feel there was accusations made that she would have felt were unjust or unfair.
Over the course of many years, this lady wrote hundreds of letters.
Mm-hmm.
Literally hundreds of letters.
Mm-hmm.
And would often have to wait very long periods of time for any of them to be replied to, and in fact in many cases some of them were never replied to at all.
That's amazing.
I mean the vaguest hope that she had found a thread,
Yeah.
and she would write a letter.
Yeah.
I've also a strong sense here that this same lady had a real feeling about equality and issues and support, and wanting to support women specifically. Do you know, like suffragettes and that kind of feeling? I have a sense here that she stood up for women and women's rights, but I feel as though this is not just about her, that it's far-reaching, you know, it's like involves lots of other people. She's just a tiny little part of a massive thing.
I'll do my best with this. I'm giving him the feeling that I need to talk about an establishment or an organisation. It seems to be some religious church, monastery, convent, almost like at the death of this woman, church-orientated people or organisation moved in. They must have acted in what they thought was the best interest at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But for the years of pain that it's caused, it was probably the worst decision that could have been made at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I need to link with her father. There's something about her dad. Her father seems to be important. Something about her father being responsible. That's in my mind. It's like her father carried a secret that she was aware of, and she knew, and she carries a secret as well. I think it was a burden to carry that secret though. And I feel afraid when I talk of that as well, like I'm scared and I'm afraid and I need to move and I need to go and I need to hide. And I know as she goes to hide and she moves away, that she does it with a reason, and I feel I'm fearful, and I feel I'm fearful of a man as well, like I'm running away from a gentleman, and she's wanting to hide.
Who had the, I don't know whether you know, but who had the heart condition?
There's a man that comes into my mind, and I know he comes in not from the photographs, but comes in from the spirit world. And I know as he comes in from the spirit world, I know that he gives me that feeling of murder, the feeling of murder. As I look at her and her father together, I don't like that feeling. I don't have a good feeling about it. And although I feel there's a love from her towards her father, it's like a corrupted love or a distorted kind of love. And I don't particularly like her dad, to be honest. I don't get a good feeling with him.
She's given me the smell of amyl nitrate, which in Victorian times was used as a treatment for heart conditions.
I don't know why, but I keep wanting to focus on the father. Poison? Poison, liquid, medicine, but that which is lethal. It doesn't take me to her though, it takes me to him.
But there is one very last, very clear thought that's being placed into my mind. We have, okay, say it again, got to go back to the very beginning.
The psychics have identified a collection of striking images. A man with access to deadly chemicals, a sinister institution, and over 100 letters that were never sent.
And in fact, in many cases, some of them were never replied to at all.
That's amazing.
Coming up, Vanessa reveals how accurate the psychics were. And TJ Higgs travels to Scotland to try and unravel what it all means.
The words that are coming into my mind are, what have I done wrong? What have I done wrong?
The psychic private eyes are investigating Vanessa Goldie-Scot's ancestral mystery surrounding the traumatic event of Evelyn, her grandmother's life.
Poison, liquid, medicine.
The woman that died in childbirth.
The father carried a secret that she was aware of.
And then there seems to be this shadowy figure, this ninth figure, an illegitimate child. I believe that the lady that passed in childbirth is your grandmother, and I feel it is your grandmother that is impressing this information on me today.
When he said that the lady who died in childbirth was the one who was trying to share the information, I thought, that's just what I want.
I feel as though there's something wrong with my stomach or something across my stomach.
And I know that the lady died in childbirth, and had she not died in childbirth, well, quite frankly, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
My grandfather delivered each one of the three boys, my father and his two brothers. But then, when my grandmother was pregnant for the fourth time, the servants or whoever thought it would be unnecessary to call him away from his duties, and at the time he came back, she died.
I have a feeling of this lady, and I have a feeling that she makes me feel very sad when I look into her eyes and when I connect with her.
All my father knew was that she'd been the daughter of a London architect. He said that all the archives were with the Mitchell Library. So I spoke to the archivist, and then about 5 days later, this brown envelope arrived under my front doorstep with all photocopies of all her case notes. To my surprise, she'd gone to art college, and according to these notes, she came under the bad influence of other students.
This same lady had a real feeling about equality and issues, suffragettes and that kind of feeling. I have a sense here that she stood up for women and women's rights.
Then at home she became very irrational, refused to conform to any rules, and became engaged to a stranger to the family, whom her father described as being a fast act.
I also feel there was accusations made that she would have felt were unjust.